Okay, so you guys know the running joke with content creators and their editors being trapped in their basements, right? Well, this time around, my editor is trapping me in his basement until I get this video project sent to him, so yeah, please send help. No, seriously, Shimbius has been salivating at Zani's eventual release ever since he saw her in the trailer. My guy's the type, I swear to God. I guess you can assume what today's video is gonna be about. In celebration of the first anniversary of Wuthering Waves, version 2.3 is gonna be featuring two characters of interest. The first of which quickly becoming a fan favorite after people realized Kuro's actually willing to design female characters who wear pants. I know, can you believe it?
You can't keep getting away with it!
The Spectro category already features some of the best units in the game from both an offensive and utility perspective, and it just so happens that Zani will be coming in as a Spectro Gauntlet wielder, meaning my suspicions were correct on what element she would be. In today's video, we'll be analyzing her gameplay and moveset to explain how she plays, and more importantly, where the hell does she pull that chair out from, along with analyzing her role and place in the metagame before wrapping things up with a primer on how to build her, what teams to play her with, and if you should go above and beyond for her sequences. Zani will be the 6th 5-star Spectro character, which is presently the only element to not have a single 4-star, assuming we count Rover as a 5-star. Apart from Spectrover though, the other existing 4 Spectros are currently placed in tier 0 status, making Spectro the strongest element in terms of roster by a definitive margin. Not only does it have the 2 best supports in the game, Shorekeeper and Verena, but it also has 2 of the best attackers in the game, Jinchi and Phoebe, the former being a longtime veteran of top tier since her release back in 1.1, and the latter having come out just recently to mark her spot as a DPS and support hybrid revolving around the Spectro Frazzle mechanic. Back in my Phoebe video, I gave mention to how while she's a very strong character already, there's room for her to get even stronger on account of a mono Spectro Frazzle team not being out yet, since there were only 2 at the time. Well, fortunately for her and us, we don't have to wait very long because Zani's a Spectro character and she does indeed revolve around that self-same mechanic. In true Wuthering Waves fashion, the kit descriptions get more and more convoluted with every character, and Zani is arguably the biggest defender of this. Holy sh**, she's got as many words as a college dissertation. I'm going to do my damnedest to make this as digestible as possible, but I do not blame you if you're still confused at the end of it. Let's start with the overall theme of the character first. While present in your party, anytime other characters apply stacks of Frazzle onto enemies, those stacks automatically get detonated to deal their damage over time instantly, and then get upgraded into Heliacal Embers, which for the sake of the Eternal Radiance Echo set do still count as Frazzle. Unlike Frazzle, which caps at 10, Embers cap at 60, and the more Ember stacks you have, the stronger Zani gets. It should be noted that Zani herself does not apply Frazzle. She can apply 1 stack of Ember, but to get the other 59 stacks you will need the help of Phoebe and Spectrover. On to Zani's skill, which is a base form and empowered form. Base form has her deal damage to enemies and then enter a block stance. Recasting it will do a basic attack 3 and briefly stun the enemy. But if she gets hit during her block stance, not only is the damage completely negated, but she deals even bigger damage and more vibration damage too. Then for 2 seconds after, she gains 30% damage mitigation. This bitch can tank hits, which I believe makes her the first bruiser character in the game. The Empower form can be triggered upon having max Redundant Energy. Redundant Energy is one of her 2 Forte Circuit resources which can be charged up by using her normal attacks, intro, and resonance skills. Just like with the base form, if Zani gets hit while in her stance, she negates all the damage and then deals a big counterpunch. Although for this one, you can still deal the big counterpunch even if you don't get hit, so you can just use it for damage. Upon dealing the big counterpunch, enemies hit will gain 1 Ember stack and then cause Zani to gain 10 Blaze and a 20% damage amp on Spectro Frazzle damage, which all of her Blaze attacks are considered as, for 14 seconds. Blaze is Zani's second resource. Sorry, I know there's a lot to keep track of, just bear with me. You can rack up Blaze by using either her skill or by accumulating Ember stacks on a target, capping out at 100. As you accumulate Blaze, you gain access to more abilities. To actually make use of Blaze, we need her Liberation. Like her skill, Zani has 2 Liberations, a base form and an empowered form. Her base form deals a blast of damage, recharges 50 Blaze, raises her Blaze cap from 100 to 150, and then enters her Inferno mode stance, increasing her basic attack multipliers by 25%. For all intents and purposes, you can think of Zani's ultimate as Carlotta, where she has an initial strike and then special attacks you can do after before finishing off with a final shot. Inferno mode grants access to 4 attacks: Daybreak, Dawning, Nightfall, and Light Smash. I know, even more terms, good lord. Each of these attacks consume Blaze to be activated. During Inferno mode, Zani's skill makes her enter a stance just like before, and if you release it early, you will perform a Daybreak, which can be followed up with a cast of Dawning, and then finally a Nightfall. If you hold the stance until fully charged, you perform a Nightfall right away, and then you can use Daybreak into Dawning into Nightfall. But if you get struck while holding the stance, you do a Light Smash instead, which also can be followed up with a Nightfall. The power of these attacks increases based on how much Blaze you consume. I know, it's confusing. Here, let me try to dumb it down for you. After using your ultimate, your skill can deal a big attack or an even bigger attack if you get hit by something. After using bigger attack, you get biggest attack, which consumes all blaze for a huge finisher. You can also get bigger attack by holding your basic attack skill, and after using your bigger attack, you get biggest attack. All of these attacks, big, bigger, and biggest, cost blaze to be used, and all of them are considered heavy attack Spectro Frazzle damage. The Frazzle damage component is for the purposes of the 20% damage amp on a skill. Goodness gracious. Trust me when I say Zani sounds a lot more complicated than she actually is. Long and short of it is, she's all about blocking hits then striking back for big damage. Her ultimate makes the counterattacks do more damage based on her blaze, which can be accumulated by using her empowered skill, and every time Spectro Frazzle converts to Ember. In essence, the more Spectro Frazzle your party applies, the more DPS Zani will deal. That's about as simply as I can describe her kit. Point being, she's a damage dealer who can tank a lot of hits, so if you're not really a fan of the dodging type, then Zani's a great character to pick up since you can counter a bunch of times to cancel out big attacks instead. Furthering that playstyle are her two inherent skills. The first one gives a 12% bonus Spectro damage for 14 seconds upon using her intro skill, and her second one reduces all incoming damage by 40% while in her ready stance. So for your league plays out there, it's like Bomb's Unbreakable where Zani negates the first hit completely, and then all subsequent hits deal less damage. Now comes the part where we talk about her rotation. As far as playstyle is concerned, Zani's not exactly a hyper carry. I mean, you could play her as one, but considering she's dependent on Frazzle stacks, optimal play necessitates frequently swapping to and from her teammates to rack up more stacks. Fortunately, Zani's Inferno mode has a 20-second duration and holds even when she swaps out, giving you time to switch to Phoebe and Spectro over to attack a few more times before going back to her. She's not a quick swap attacker per se, more of a, I guess for lack of a better term, dual DPS attacker. As such, rotations can get kind of complicated, but here's one that should be fairly easy for you to replicate while on her. Intro skill in, then charge up her empowered skill. Use it, then cast Liberation to enter Inferno mode. Hold her skill and perform Nightfall into Daybreak into Dawning into Nightfall. Then charge her skill again to perform another Nightfall, and then finish with a second Liberation and then outro skill. Just keep in mind that you might get attacked while charging your skill, so you'll do a Light Smash into Nightfall instead of the previous rotation. Alternatively, you can change up her combo once entering Inferno mode into tapping the skill in order to use Daybreak into Dawning into Nightfall, repeating that again, and then finishing with her second Liberation into outro once more. Either option is fine. Still confused? I don't blame you. Zani's a unit that can only really be learned. She's kind of hard to teach. But regardless, the gist is to counter, then strike, counter, then strike. Her rotation will definitely vary depending on what you're fighting. Speaking of her outro skill though, that's a very important part of her kit. For every Ember stack you have on targets when you outro out, Zani damages all enemies and consumes them to increase the power of that attack, 10% for each one, meaning her outro can do insane numbers if you have full Ember stacks when doing so. And then afterwards, for 20 seconds, all Spectro damage dealt to marked enemies increases by 20%. Zani has a damaging and supportive outro, one that can work on multiple party members. This really drives the point home that you want to play her not just with other characters who can apply Spectral Frazzle, but build those characters to also deal damage. The question now is, how much damage does Zani even deal? Let's just say, a lot. Holy sh**, this character's broken. For reference, Carlotta's team has the highest single target DPS in the game by a serious margin, around 60k per second when played alongside Shorekeeper and Tiltu. Zani with Phoebe and Spectro over do 56k per second. Considering this is a team that doesn't use Shorekeeper or Verena, that makes Zani the second strongest attacker point for point among the cast. Most other bossing parties do anywhere between 45 to 50 if I'm not mistaken, so if it wasn't obvious, this character is busted. However, the caveat is that Zani can only realistically be played in one singular fashion, Mono Spectro, so there's kind of a trade-off where if you want to make the most out of her, you need very specific units to go along with her. Conveniently though, everyone has Rover, so you're covered on one base, but if you passed over Phoebe, you miss out on a ton of Frazzle stacks, which like I said serve as a gas tank for Zani when they get converted to Embers. More Embers equals more Blaze equals more damage. That's not to say if you skipped Phoebe, you can't make use of Zani. You most certainly can, it's just that if you want to make the most out of her, Zani will need both Phoebe and Spectro over. Those are your only two Frazzle drivers at the moment. A few weeks down the road though, we'll get Chacona who can apply Frazzle as well, so you can swap out Spectro over with her for more power, or add her to your party in place of Phoebe. For the time being, Zani, Spectro over and Shorekeeper make for a strong team nonetheless. You can compensate for the lower Ember stacks through Shorekeeper's damage and crit buffs. Outside of that, Zani's team selection is rather limited to say the least. Honestly though, this presents a good opportunity. Spectro has no 4-star characters. An easy workaround for making Zani more accessible is to make a 4-star Spectro unit who can apply Frazzle. There we go, problem solved. Kuro, take notes. Okay, sequences. How far should you go on her? S1 gives Zani a staggering 50% Spectro bonus for 14 seconds. This has to be the single biggest attribute buff I've seen on a character. Obviously a very strong buff to have, especially in her case, because like Brant, Zani doesn't really have that many damage bonuses in her base kit. S2 gives her 20% free crit rate, and she gets 80% bonus multipliers added to her skills. Considering these are the non-blaze skills, it's mostly the crit rate that sells it, but I mean hey, 20% free crit rate makes up for her best party not having Shorekeeper, and with Zani depending on big hits over small ones, having as close to 100% crit as possible is top priority. S3 causes Zani's Empowered Liberation to gain 8% bonus multiplier for every 1 stack of Blaze consumed during her Inferno mode, which means if you have 150 Blaze, that's an increase of 1200% to her multiplier. Keep in mind the scaling on its own is already like 1270, so at S3, Zani's Empowered Ultimate deals almost 2500% in damage, quite possibly the strongest nuke in the game. S3 is a good point for anyone focused on speedrunning, although counterproductively her rotations can be quite long. S4 gives the entire team 20% bonus attack for 30 seconds when casting Zani's outro. Unlike other S4s, I actually think this one carries a ton of value because, for one, everyone uses attack, whereas not everyone does skill damage or basic or heavy or whatnot. 2. Zani's a party DPS carry, so Phoebe and Spectro can and will contribute meaningful DPS on the side, allowing them to measurably benefit from this buff. Mind you, it's still only 20% attack on S4, but like usual, if you're going past S3, I'm assuming you're going for S6. S5 ups the multiplier of her base liberation by 120%. Moving on. S6. All of Zani's blaze attacks, Daybreak, Dawning, Nightfall, and Light Smash gain 40% more multiplier, and every time she enters Inferno mode, if she's at or below 70 blaze, she automatically gets 70 more, reducing the need for you to stack 100 blaze conventionally. Also, within 8 seconds of entering Inferno mode, Zani can survive 1 fatal attack, making her the first DPS character with an insurance policy. Considering she's all about counterattacks and tanking hits instead of dodging, this actually matters a lot. All in all, I would say S1's the best for budget players. If you have a bit of cash, you can go for S3. However, more important than her sequences are her weapon choices. Having established her Rocha's video, the Gauntlet category doesn't have the best selection, at least when compared to swords and rectifiers. As such, Zani's signature would be a bigger priority than sequences. You get 8% defense ignore and 50% bonus Spectro Frazzle damage, which all of Zani's attacks consist of after using her liberation. So basically, the 50% Spectro damage bonus you get on S1, you can also get something similar through her signature in addition to more. Oh, and her weapon increases the whole party's Spectro damage, not just hers. Tragic Comedy is not a bad alternative, especially with the crit rate, but unsurprisingly I think most people skipped Rocha, so I don't expect a lot of people to have her weapon. Same goes for Shangli Yao. Verity's handle's also not too bad given it's a crit weapon, and Zani can use her skill multiple times, but with Shangli Yao having been a free character, I'm not certain how many people went for his weapon either, especially since he made fantastic use of this Denard. When calculating between Blazing Justice and Abyss Surges though, the difference is night and day. I would recommend getting S0R1 at the least. Echo sets, Eternal Radiance, if it wasn't glaringly obvious. Spectro Frazzle's the name of the game for her. For main Echo, bring Capitanius. 1. It's a summon so no interruption of your rotation. 2. Zani does mostly heavy attack damage on account of all of her blaze attacks consisting of heavy attacks, so Capitanius would be the most suitable match for her. Main stats go crit rate, Spectro, and attack on 4, 3, 1 respectively. Substats go energy until 105 if you have both BB and Spectro over. If you're doing Spectro over and Shorekeeper, Zani will need around 130 give or take, so the requirement is quite steep. After energy, you'll want to go with the 2 crit stats, attack and heavy attack damage in that order. Straightforward build. In totality, Zani is a fantastic unit, kind of complicated to understand, but the numbers make her absolutely worth going for if you're willing to. For those who pulled Phoebe, Zani, Spectrover, and Phoebe make up one of the best teams in the game, and potentially the best if you have sequences on Phoebe. For those who don't have Phoebe but still want Zani, if you hold out for a few weeks, you can get Chikona for the other Frazzle party member. It would still be nice if Kuno gave us a 4-star Spectro unit though. Okay, so there you have it. Sorry for the word vomit earlier in the video as I was explaining her kit. Like I said, she's someone who can only really be learned, not taught. But she's really fun to play, so it evens out. If you guys enjoyed the video, a like and subscribe would be much appreciated. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter at Vars, join my Discord server, and check out my other character first impressions videos if you haven't yet. But till next time, thanks so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. Take care.